welcome back to my channel. I got a wonderful comment the other day by a gentleman called Napali Boy, and he asked, will you please do a food runner video? And I said, of course, I would love to do a food runner video. So before we get started, if you could please press that like button because it really helps the channel. And let's talk about how to be a food runner. You know, the food runner job has a lot of different descriptions depending on what restaurant you're working in. So of course, if you can, ask your manager or somebody else what is expected from me by this job. And so you get clear lines about that, because no one can meet expectations if you don't know what other people are expecting. And from my perspective, what I think makes a really great food runner. Well, one of the things is our job is to communicate to the guest and communicate to the waiter and communicate maybe to the pot wash and maybe communicate to the kitchen, of course. We need to be really great communicators. So don't be shy, and remember, if you have any questions, comments, or something about your job, make sure to ask or make sure to just tell people what is going on and what you're doing, because you are such an important role to keep the restaurant in a really, really good flow. One of our jobs is to be assisting the waiter, because the waiter may have a very big section. You're backing this person up. You might also be backing two different servers up at the time. So your section is actually 2 times as big as the single server right there. So you really need to be on your game. I would go in right away and memorize all those table numbers, because I know I have been working in a restaurant. I grab the food and all of a sudden look down, it's table 26, and I'm like, crap. Where's table 26? Then I have to take time to try to research that to find out where it is, and that's gonna take time that you need to be doing your job a lot quicker. So number 1 is memorize those table numbers really, really good. The next one is remember that you are assisting that waiter, and what you give always comes back. So if you can go around and find different ways to assist them, or even just ask, hey, how may I assist you right now? In videos before, I've talked about, I personally don't like saying, how may I help you? Because that might make the person feel like they're helpless. But I like, how may I assist you? That means you have more confidence, you have like a little extra time, and you're really trying to help somebody else. And when you do that, you usually end up getting it back. I know in the restaurants that I have worked at before that at the end of the evening, I usually tip my runner out. And if I was really having a runner that was doing a great job for me and really helped me, of course, I'm gonna tip them a little bit extra. And that is, of course, one of our goals as a runner that we would love to have as well. Next thing is when you go up, of course, when you're food running, you are in charge of that food. We know that the chef has made the food, maybe the head chef or the sous chef has looked over the food to make it correct, maybe another waiter has been out there looking at the food, but when you take the food, it's also your responsibility that you know that it's up to specs. I mean, look at it. Does it look like the picture in the menu card, if that's what you have? Does it look like something appetizing that you would eat? Is there splotches and greasy things all over the plate? Then hey, ask somebody to help you make the plates look nicer. If you are also welcome to do this yourself, you know, then do it yourself. Think of it as you are serving people in your home, and you would like to be the best, you know, example of this when you bring down the food. Crazy enough, some people that don't know anything about restaurants, I have had them ask me before, hey, wow, thanks for making this beautiful food. And I'm thinking, you really thought that I made the food, you know? But you know what, there are people out there like that. So think that, hey, these people are all gonna think that I made the food myself, so make sure that the food looks something that you're proud of taking down as well. I also had a video out before about how to remember which guest the food goes to, so I'll link it down below so you can check that out as well. But when you're taking down the food and you find out which guest needs it, is very important, because the last thing you want to do is stand there is like, who liked the cheeseburger? Who liked the cheeseburger? To me, that's called auctioning off the food, and that doesn't make it personal at all. Be smarter than this. Try to get a system where you don't have to ask. Now, if you do get in a situation where you do need to ask, whose cheeseburger is this? You could say something nice like, you know what? Who loves cheeseburgers here? I have one for you. You know, be a little bit sneaky about it. Start a little bit of a conversation in that way to help you find out who ordered what. When you are setting down the food, I really like that we present the food in some way. I know in a lot of restaurants, the waiter is actually taking on the food. They'll present the food. Here's your beautiful mashed potatoes. It was made with some extra broccoli and our homemade butter, whatever it is. And you're thinking, it's just mashed potatoes. Why do I have to present mashed potatoes? But you know what? You can make anything sound amazing. Look through your menu card and figure out what positive words or adjectives you could put on the food to make it sound more exciting. What small details did the chef put in there? Maybe a spice or an herb that could be, oh, that makes our mashed potatoes a little bit different from another restaurant down the street's mashed potatoes, and highlight that for the guest when you get down there. Just coming down and setting down the food, hey, anybody can do that, but if you can set down the food and just say a little bit about it, you are actually helping the rest of your team. You're amplifying, the art that your chef has made, and you're also giving more value to your service when you're putting it down and letting the guests know, hey, I know what's on here and I want to let you know because I'm passionate about it, and they will probably enjoy the food more if you tell them a little bit about what's on their plate. I love when we have a food runner that not only sets down the food, but afterwards ends up maybe topping off that beer or that soda and taking those bottles back to the pot wash, creating a little bit more space on the table all the time. Go that extra mile and ask them, hey, may I tell Martina, your server, to bring you another Coke or maybe a refill on a beer or a whole nother round? That's going a little bit extra and you're really helping your waiter. Now, if you end up doing that, don't forget to go back to your server and say, hey, the table 26 wants a whole nother round of beers or a Coke. It's very important communication to let them know any orders that are going on the table or any needs that these guests are asking from you. Before you bring the food down, I need to back up just a little bit. I think it's important that maybe you just kind of walk by the table and glance down at it and see, hey, is there room for me to set all this down? And if there is not, because they have pushed things in front of them, or maybe you have some sharing plates or sharing appetizers in the middle of the table and that's totally clogged with something where you can't just, elegantly set things down and without moving something, it's nice to just prepare a little bit of space on the table. Tell your guest, hey, I'm preparing a little bit of space because Chef Martin almost has your food ready. In that way, if you let them know what you're doing, then they won't move everything back afterwards. So when you come down with the food, you're like, oh, thank you. Now you have to move things around. One thing we want to avoid is when we come down with the food and, maybe it's even a big tray, we don't have that extra hand to move things around in order to set that dish down. And we, as people in the restaurant business, do not want the guests to have to move those items themselves in order for you to get it down, because that is actually meaning that they're doing our job. So prepping the table beforehand, letting the guests know what you're doing and why you're moving things around for them is probably one of the best things you can do to prepare yourself to bring that food down and let it land down on the table in a really elegant way. I love when I am a food runner, or if I have a food runner and they always have some type of wiping cloth or cleaning towel, whatever you might call it in your restaurant, on them somewhere, because people are constantly spilling things on the table or things drip around. And when you are clearing or ever bringing more things down or maybe more drinks, you have a little option to just take your little cloth and you can wipe off that table just a little bit to keep it as clean as possible as it goes by. A clean table really gives the feeling to the guests that, hey, this is really under control. They are really going a little bit extra to keep everything nice. I know that when after all the dishes are gone, when I'm eating in a restaurant and I'm waiting for my bill and there's like sauce and crap and nuggets and breadcrumbs everywhere on the table, I'm like, ooh, really? I made this mess? I don't want to see that. I don't want to be reminded as a guest that I'm kind of a slob. So making sure to clean that off little by little as you go. And of course, before your server comes down with that check, to make sure that table is really nice and clean, because that is going to actually make a difference in your tip in the end, and also a good memory for them when they leave. You don't know what they're going to think about when they leave and be like, oh, the meal was great, but at the end I could see they didn't care about cleaning up after us. You don't want them to be thinking that. Or when they're thinking about giving a tip, it's like, yeah, but I'm sitting here giving a tip on a table that's super dirty, tip's going to go down now. So keep the table clean is another secret I have for you. Another job for us is just to make sure the service stations, or maybe you have an area in the restaurant that needs to be stocked up. We need to make sure that there's napkins, maybe forks and knives are rolled, and that is accessible and ready and propped up and ready to go for yourself, also your servers, also your different colleagues. And I love when I come to the service station and everything's full and I'm like, oh, perfect, it's so nice, this is saving me time. But I know several times I've been on the floor, we're really, really busy, and I get up there and I'm missing one item that the guest needs. Now I have to take that extra time to run around in the pot wash, to find the fork, make sure it's clean, find a napkin to bring it down to the guest, and that all takes time. Remember, you will get what you give back, and so if you make sure that everything is stocked for your server and making sure to assist them in the best way, you are going to get it back later. I think the food runner is one of the funnest jobs, and also things just go by so fast, and I think it's so exciting. I really hope that you practice communicating with your guests, making them feel that you are really trying to make their experience the best it can possibly be. And you know what, stay positive, come with your smile to the table, and have an amazing shift. I'm Ginny Mae, the Intergalactic Supreme Goddess of Guest Service, and thank you so much for watching my video. If you would like more tips and tricks on service, how to up your service game, click here. And please subscribe by pressing my face right here, and don't